The Dassault Mirage F1 is a French air superiority fighter and attack aircraft designed and built by Dassault Aviation as a successor of the Mirage III family. The Mirage F1 entered service in the French Air Force in 1974. Powered by a single SNECMA Atar turbojet providing about 7 tons force of thrust, the F1 has been used as a light multipurpose fighter and has been exported to about a dozen nations. More than 720 F1s have been produced. Design and development: Dassault designed the Mirage F1 as a private venture, using its own funds, as a successor to its Mirage III and Mirage V fighters, with the F1 being a smaller version of the Mirage F2 being developed for the French Air Force. It was of similar size to the delta-winged Mirage III in B, and was powered by a SNECMA Atar 9K turbojet as used in the Dassault Mirage IV, but unlike its predecessors, it shared the layout of a swept wing mounted high on the fuselage and a conventional tail surface as used by the F2. Although it has a smaller wingspan than the Mirage III, the F1 nevertheless proved to be superior to its predecessor. It can carry up to 43% more fuel, has a shorter takeoff run and better maneuverability. The first prototype made its maiden flight on December 23, 1966. Despite the prototype crashing on May 18, 1967 due to flutter, killing its pilot, an order for 3 prototypes was placed on May 26, 1967, the larger and more expensive F2 being abandoned. In order to comply with the French Air Force's requirement for an all-weather interceptor, the first production Mirage F1C was equipped with a Thomson CSF Serrano 4 monopulse radar. The later Serrano 4-1 version added a limited look-down capability. However, Mirage F1 pilots reported that the radar can easily overheat, reducing its efficiency. First deliveries to the French Air Force took place in May 1973, entering squadron service with EC-2/30 Normandy 9 in December that year. Initially, the aircraft was armed with 2 internal 30-on cannons, and a single Matra of 530 medium-range air-to-air missile carried under the fuselage. It was replaced after 1979, when the improved Matra Super 530F entered into service with the French Air Force. In 1977, the R550 Magic was released. The F1 has these missiles mounted on rails on the wingtips. Around the same time, the American AIM-9 Sidewinder became part of the Mirage F1's armament, after the Spanish and Hellenic Air Forces requested integration of the Sidewinder on their own Mirage F1 CE and CG fighters. The 79 aircraft of the next production run were delivered during the period March 1977 to December 1983. These were of the Mirage F1 C200 version with a fixed refueling probe, which required an extension of the fuselage by 7 cm. The Mirage F1 served as the main interceptor of the French Air Force until the Dassault Mirage 2000 entered service. Operational history: France, French Air Force Mirage F1s were first deployed operationally in 1984 during Operation Manta, the French intervention in Chad, to counter growing Libyan encroachment. 4 Mirage F1 C200s provided air cover for a force of 4 Jaguars, and took part in skirmishes against the pro-Libyan GUNT rebels. In 1986, French Mirage F1s returned to Chad, as part of Operation Epervier, with 4 F1 C200s providing fighter cover for a strike package of 8 Jaguars during the air raid against the Libyan airbase at Mardi Doum, on February 16. 2 F1CRs also flew pre- and post-strike reconnaissance missions. In response to the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, France made 2 deployments of Mirage F1s to the Persian Gulf, with 12 Mirage F1CS being deployed to Doha in Qatar in October 1991 to boost air defenses, while 4 Mirage F1CR Severe 33 deployed to Saudi Arabia as part of Operation Dagat in September 1991. To avoid the risk of being mistaken for Iraqi Mirage F1s, the French F1CRs were grounded during the first few days of the Allied air attacks, flying their first combat mission on January 26, 1991. They were used as fighter bombers, using their more capable navigation systems to lead formations of French Jaguar fighter bombers, as well as to fly reconnaissance missions, flying 114 sorties by the end of hostilities. Following the end of the Persian Gulf War, France deployed Mirage F1CRs to Turkey as part of Operation Provide Comfort to protect Kurds from Iraqi aggression. In November 2004 and in response to an Ivorian air attack on French peacekeepers, 3 Mirage F1 jets attack Yamoussoukro airport and destroy 2 Su-25 aircraft and 3 attack helicopters. In October 2007, 3 Mirage 2000s and 3 Mirage F1s were deployed at Kandahar Air Force Base, where they flew close air support and tactical reconnaissance missions in support of international forces in southern Afghanistan. The last French unit to still be equipped with the Mirage F1, was the Escadron de Reconnaissance 2/33 Savoy, home-based at Mont-de-Marsan, flying the latest version of the F1CR. The unit's primary mission was tactical reconnaissance, with a secondary mission of ground attack. Because of the unique missions of the 2/33, their unofficial motto among the pilots has become, "Find, Identify, and Photograph or Destroy." In accordance with a bilateral defense agreement between France and Chad, 2/33 F1CRs, along with 3 pilots, a photo interpreter, an intelligence officer and ground crews are always deployed to N'Djamena, Chad. The 2/33 F1CRs operated with 3 Mirage 2000s, also based on rotation from France to Chad. In March 2011, 2/33 Mirage F1CRs were deployed to Solnzara Air Base, Corsica and conducted reconnaissance missions over Libya as part of OPA copyright Ration Harmattan. Indiana, 2013 2/33 F1CRs also participated in Operation Serval in Mali. On January 10, launching from their base in N'Djamena in Chad, the first French air intervention mission against Islamist rebels in Mali, was undertaken by F1CRs and Mirage 2000s, supported by a French Air Force C-135K tanker. The 2/33 F1CRs provided valuable photo information for strike aircraft flying the next day from France. Later on January 16, 2 2/33 F1CRs were deployed from Chad to Bamako, Mali. Both aircraft were fitted with extra long-range 2,200-litre ventral tanks, and when operating over Mali also carried 2 250 kg unguided bombs, plus their one internal 30mm cannon, in case they were called on for close air support missions. It is planned that 2/33's elderly F1CRs will be replaced by Rafales fitted with an advanced reconnaissance pod. The Rafale's range, maneuverability and combat load is far superior to the F1CR that it replaces. For example, after the Rafale's pod has taken photos, they can almost instantly be transmitted back to its base or where the photos are needed that has the downlink equipment. The French Air Force's last Mirage F1 fighters were retired from operational service on June 13, 2014. 11 single-seat Mirage F1CRs and 3 two-seat F1BS will be transferred to storage, with 6 making a final appearance in a flypast during Bastille Day celebrations over Paris before eventual disposal. Ecuador received 16 F1AJs and 2 F1Js between 1978 and 1980, and they saw their first air combat very soon. The Ecuadorian Air Force's squadron of Mirage F1JAs entered combat in January-February 1981 during the brief Paquisha War between Ecuador and Peru, less than 2 years after the aircraft had been delivered to the FAE. At that time, the Ecuadorians decided against directly challenging the Peruvian Air Force, whose Mirage 5 picoseconds and Sukhoi Su-22 milliseconds were providing air cover to the Peruvian heliborne operations in the combat zone. Instead, the Mirages were kept at a distance, performing combat air patrols on the fringes of the combat area, in case the border clashes gave way to open hostilities. Peruvian Sukhoi Su-22 were spotted once, and an air-to-air 550 missile was launched, but failed to strike the Sukhoi. In 1995, during the SNECMA War, the Ecuadorian Mirages went back into action against Peru. This time, while the bulk of the squadron was kept back at Torre AFB, a small detachment of Mirage F1S and KFIRC-2s was deployed to a Ford air base to dissuade Peruvian attack aircraft from entering the combat zone. This time the planes had been upgraded, Israeli electronics and Python Mk air-to-air missiles, usually mounted on the outer underwing pylons, and Matra of 550 Magic AAMs on wingtip launch rails. On February 10, 1995, two Mirage F1 JAs, piloted by Major Abanderez and Captain Sirzategi, were directed over 5 targets approaching the disputed Senapur Valley. After making visual contact, the Mirages fired their missiles, claiming two Peruvian Su-22 milliseconds shot down, while a KFIR claimed a further A-37B Dragonfly. Peru, however, denied that the two Sukhoi Su-22 milliseconds were shot down by Mirages, stating that one was lost due to being struck by Ecuadorian anti-aircraft artillery during a low-flying ground attack mission, with the second Sukhoi was lost because of an engine fire. Banderas was made head of the Ecuadorian Air Force in May 2014, while Sirzategi died in a training accident in 2002 at Salinas Air Base, in the Santa Elena province. Iraq. During the Iran-Iraq War, Iraq's Mirage F1 EQs were used intensively for interception, ground attack and anti-shipping missions. In November 1981, an Iraqi Mirage F1 accounted for the first Iranian F-14 to be shot down, followed by several more in the following months, giving the previously timid Iraqi Air Force new confidence in air-to-air combat engagements with the Iranians. During the Iran-Iraq War, 33 Iraqi Mirage F1s were shot down by Iranian F-14s, confirmed by Iranian, Western and Iraqi sources, and 2 Mirage F1s by F-4 Phantom II units. Iraqi F-1 EQs claimed at least 35 Iranian aircraft, mostly McDonnell F-4 Phantoms and Northrop F-5E Tiger IIs, but also a few Grumman F-14 Tomcat. On September 14, 1983, two Turkish Air Force F-100F Super Sabre fighter jets of 182 Filo OE at Makkah penetrated Iraqi airspace. A Mirage F-1 EQ of the Iraqi Air Force intercepted the flight and fired a Super 530 F-1 missile. One of the Turkish fighter jets was shot down and crashed in Zaklo Valley near the Turkish-Iraqi border. The plane's pilots reportedly survived the crash and returned to Turkey. The incident was not made public by either side, although some details surfaced during the years. The incident was revealed in 2012 by Turkish Defense Minister Adegris Smityar +/- in response to a parliamentary question by Republican Fiopli unregistered trademark S Party MP Metin Lawan Quarter TFI Beda in the aftermath of the downing of a Turkish F-4 in Syria. In the opening minutes of the 1991 Persian Gulf War on January 17, 1991, an unarmed USAF F-111, crewed by Captain James A. Denton and Captain Brent D. Brandon, scored a kill against an Iraqi Dassault Mirage F-1 EQ, which they managed to maneuver into the ground, making it the only F-111 to achieve an aerial victory over another aircraft. Coalition forces shot down several Iraq Mirages during the Persian Gulf War. 6 F-1 EQs were shot down by U.S. Air Force F-15 Eagles during the war. 2 F-1 EQs preparing to carry out an Balaga cluster bomb attack on Saudi oil facilities were shot down by a Royal Saudi Air Force F-15C. Morocco. 30 Mirage F-1 CHs and 20 Mirage F-1 EHs were ordered from Dassault by the Royal Moroccan Air Force in 1975, with the first deliveries taking place in 1978. They were engaged in combat as soon as 1979 against the forces of the Polisario Front operating in Western Sahara. The RMAF lost 7 Mirages shot down and 6 others crashed due to different mishaps. 3 Mirage pilots were killed, 3 were captured and 1 killed by the guerrillas. South Africa. South Africa began looking for a replacement for the Mirage III in 1971. South Africa bought a licensed manufacturer of the Mirage F1 and its engine. The intention was to produce up to 100 Mirage F1s, but the 1977 arms embargo caused this license to be cancelled. The SAAF bought 16 Mirage F1 CZs and 32 Mirage F1 AZs, quickly delivered by Dassault before the embargo was implemented, with deliveries starting in 1975. Both the F1CZ and F1AZ variants of the SAAF saw action during operations in the border war. In November 1978, 5 F1CZs were first deployed to Southwest Africa, tasked with providing escort for reconnaissance flights over southern Angola. From 1980 these deployments as escort aircraft became regular. Due to teething problems with the F-1AZ, F-1CZs soon also were assigned with preemptive strikes in southern Angola using Matra M155 rocket pods or 250 kg bombs. F-1CZs of 3 Squadron downed 2 Angolan MiG-21s in 1981 and 1982. On November 6, 1981, during Operation Daisy, 2 F-1CZs were vectored by GCI to intercept 2 MiG-21s heading south. Major Joan Rankin shot down the wingmen with cannon fire, as the missiles failed to lock onto the MiGs. On October 5, 1982, while escorting a Canberra of 12 Squadron on a photo reconnaissance sortie, Major Rankin and his wingmen engaged 2 MiG-21s on an intercept course. He fired 2 Magic AAMs at one of the MiGs, damaging the aircraft with the second missile. Rankin then attacked the second MiG and destroyed it with cannon fire. The first MiG was able to return to base, but sustained additional damage making a belly landing. In May 1982 an Angolan Mi-8 helicopter that the SADF believed to be carrying senior officers was located and destroyed in the Cuvelai area. The helicopter was located with rotors running on the ground by a pair of F-1CZs and destroyed by 30mm cannon fire. 2 F-1AZs of 1 Squadron were lost over Angola. On February 20, 1988, while flying an interdiction sortie in F-1AZ 245 against a road convoy during Operation Hooper, Major Ed Every was shot down by an SA-13 Gopher SAM. F-1AZ 223 was lost almost a month later, on March 19, when Captain Willibald Copenhagen flew into the ground while returning from a diversionary strike at night. A SAAF Board of Inquiry was unable to determine the causes of the crash. 2 F-1AZs and a F-1CZ were also damaged by enemy action, but were able to return to base. On June 7, 1980, while attacking SWAPO's Tobias Hanako training camp during Operation Skeptic, Major Franz Pretorius and Captain I.C. Duplessis were both hit by SA-3 Goa SAMs. Duplessis' aircraft was hit in a fuel line and he had to perform a dead-stick landing at AFB Ondingwa. Pretorius's aircraft sustained heavier damage and had to divert to Ruakana forward airstrip, where he landed with only the main undercarriage extended. Both aircraft were repaired and returned to service. During the last phase of the Bush War 683 combat sorties were flown by the F-1AZs, and more than 100 SAMA Euro unregistered trademark S were fired at them. On September 27, 1987, during Operation Modular, an attempt was mounted to intercept 2 Cuban FAR MiG-23MLs. Captain Arthur Pierce's F-1CZ was damaged by either an AA-7 Apex or AA-8 Aphid AM fired head-on by Major Alberto Le Rivas. The explosion destroyed the aircraft's drag chute and damaged the hydraulics. Pierce was able to recover to AFB Rundu, but the aircraft overshot the runway. The impact with the rough terrain caused Pierce's ejection seat to fire. He failed to separate from the seat and suffered major spinal injuries. In February 1987 3 F-1AZs fired several V-3B missiles at a group of MiG-23s without success. This was repeated again in February 1988 when a F-1AZ fired a missile at a MiG-23 and fired 30mm cannon, again without success. Various other unsuccessful attempts were made during the 1987-88 period. Apart from operations from Namibia in July 1981, a pilot of the Mozambican Air Force defected with his MiG-17. He flew from his base near Maputo towards South Africa. 2 F-1AZs returning from a training exercise intercepted the MiG-17. In March 1981 2 F-1AZs intercepted a Zimbabwean Army CASAC-212 and forced it to land in South Africa after asserting that the aircraft had strayed into South African airspace. The SAAF lost an additional 6 F-1AZs and 3 F-1CZs to various mishaps. F-1CZ-205 caught fire after landing and was repaired using the tail section of F-1CZ-206. Spain. In June 1975, with tension growing with Morocco, Spain decided to strengthen its air force and bought 15 Mirage F1C that were elevated to Al-Bast AB. In mid-1976 there was still some tension with Morocco and Algerian and Libyan MiG-25 flights on the Mediterranean, which would made Spanish Air Force to purchase 10 more Mirage F1C and 2 years later order 48 Mirage F1C and F1E. They have also bought 12 F1E DADDAs from Qatar. In Spanish service the F1C was known as the C-14A, the F1E was the C-14B and the two-seater F1EDA as the C-14C. They served as Spain's primary air defense interceptors until they were superseded by Spain's EF-18A Hornets. They served with ALA-11 in Manizales, ALA-14 in Al-Bast, and ALA-46 at Gando in the Canary Islands. In October 1996 Thompson CSF was awarded a FFR $700 million contract to upgrade 48 F1CE single-seaters and 4 F1EDA trainers to Mirage F1M standard. As well as a service life extension, this improved the avionics and added anti-shipping capability with a modernized Serrano OVM radar and Exocet compatibility. By 2009 there were 38 F1Ms in service with Escadra Cubed N141 Pachanes, and Escadra Cubed N142 Tigres of ALA-14, but they left Spanish service on June 23, 2013 as Spain built up its fleet of Eurofighter Typhoon. In 2013 it was reported that Spain may sell 16 F1Ms to Argentina, but it seems they now have the budget to buy new KFIRS instead. The deal went through and Argentina bought the Spanish Mirages in October 2013, but the deal was scrapped in March 2014 after pressure from the United Kingdom on Spain to not assist in FAA modernization over tensions between the countries over the Falkland Islands. Spanish Mirage F1 were deployed to Lithuania during NATO Baltic air policing from July 2006 to November 2006, and were scrambled twice to intercept undisclosed intruders. On January 20, 2009 two Spanish F-1s from the 14th Wing crashed near their base, during a routine Spanish Air Force dogfight training mission, killing all 3 crew members. The wreckage of the 2 jets, including the remains of the aircrew, was found about 3 km apart. The Spanish Air Force retired its fleet of Mirage F-1 in 2013, replacing it with the Eurofighter Typhoon. Libya bought the Mirage F-1AD, F-1ADs, a specialized strike variant lacking the radar but having a retractable fuel probe mounted instead. Libyan Mirage F-1s participated in the war in Chad intensively and proved its worth during the Libyan campaigns, in 1981 and 1983, but were not used later as the Air Force held them back for an eventual confrontation with the USA and its allies. When operating in Chad, Mirage F-1ADs were flown by Libyan, Pakistani and Palestinian pilots. Usual configuration consisted in 2 1.300-litre drop tanks and a pair of Beluga CBUs under the surfboard. From 1981 a detachment was deployed at Martin Serra, in southern Libya, and from 1983 they were regularly detached also to Fauligo, in central northern Chad. Together with Mirage 5s, Mirage F-1s were instrumental in the huge success enjoyed during different campaigns against the Chadian troops in the early 1980s, operating over the open and barren desert terrain. They caused heavy damage, making any larger troop movements very costly, for no losses in exchange. The Mirage F-1 fleet saw action during the 2011 Libyan civil war. 2 Libyan aircraft landed in Malta on 21 February 2011 after they were ordered to bomb protesters in Benghazi. Both of the pilots claimed political asylum. Following the death of Muammar Gaddafi and end of the civil war, France and Libya formed an agreement in 2012 to modernize the Mirage F-1 fleet and potentially purchase additional Mirage F-1s formerly operated by the French Air Force. Variants: Mirage F-1A, single-seat ground attack fighter aircraft, with limited daylight-only air-to-air capability. Fitted with lightweight MDAIDA-2 ranging radar instead of Serrano 4 of other variants, with laser rangefinder under nose, retractable refueling probe and more fuel. Developed in concert between the SAAF and Dassault. Mirage F-1 ADA Mirage F-1A for Libya. 16 delivered 1978 to Euro 1979. Mirage F1 ASA F1A for South Africa. 32 delivered 1975 Euro 1976. Mirage F1B. The French Air Force also ordered 20 Mirage F1B, a two-seat operational conversion trainer. These were delivered between October 1980 and March 1983. The extra seat and controls added only 30 cm to the length of the fuselage, but at the cost of less internal fuel capacity and the loss of the internal cannon. The empty weight increased by 200 kg, partly due to the addition of two Martin Baker Mk1000 ejection seats, in place of the Mk4 used in the F1C, which had a forward speed limitation. In all other aspects, the F1B is a combat-capable aircraft and it can compensate for the lack of internal space by carrying external cannon pods and fuel tanks. Mirage F1 DA export version of the Mirage F1D for Libya. 6 delivered 1978 Euro 1979. Mirage F1B Mirage F1B for Spain, local designation CE14A. 6 delivered 1980 Euro 1981. Mirage F1J Mirage F1B for Jordan. 2 built. Mirage F1B KA export version of the Mirage F1B for Kuwait. 2 built. Mirage F1B K2 a multi-role two-seater for Kuwait, equivalent to F1DL. 4 built. Mirage F1B QA two-seat trainer for Iraq, some of which fitted with dummy flight refueling probe. 18 ordered, of which 15 were delivered between 1980 and 1989. Mirage F1C, Mirage F1C export version of the Mirage F1C for Spain, with local designation C14A45 purchased in 3 batches, delivered between 1975 and 1981. Mirage F1C GA export version of the Mirage F1C for Greece. 40 built, which were delivered between 1975 and 1978. Mirage F1 car export version of the Mirage F1C for Morocco 30 built, delivered 1978 to Euro 1979. Mirage F1C JA export version of the Mirage F1C for Jordan. 17 built. Mirage F1C KA export version of the Mirage F1C for Kuwait. 18 built and delivered 1976 to Euro 1977. Later upgraded to CK2 standard. Mirage F1 CK2 a 9 multi-role aircraft, equivalent to F1E, was sold to Kuwait as part of a follow-up order. Mirage F1 XR export version of the Mirage F1C for South Africa. 16 delivered 1974 to Euro 1975, with 2 further aircraft received to replace aircraft lost in a February 1979 collision. Mirage F1D, two-seat training version, based on the Mirage F1E multi-role fighter, ground attack aircraft. Mirage F1D export version of the Mirage F1D for Spain. 22 built. Mirage F1D DAA export version of the Mirage F1D for Qatar. 2 built. Mirage F1E. Single-seat all-weather multi-role fighter and ground attack aircraft. Mirage F1 JAW export version of the Mirage F1E for Ecuador 16 built. Mirage F1 EDA export version of the Mirage F1E for Libya. 16 built. Mirage F1 EA export version of the Mirage F1E for Spain. 22 built. Mirage F1 EHA export version of the Mirage F1E for Morocco 14 built. Mirage F1 EH200 a Morocco aircraft fitted with a flight refueling probe. 6 built. Mirage F1 EJA export version of the Mirage F1E for Jordan. 17 built. Mirage F1 EG export version of the Mirage F1E for Iraq 16 built. Mirage F1 EQ2 a single-seat air defense fighter version for Iraq 16 built. Mirage F1 EQ4 a single-seat multi-role fighter, ground attack, reconnaissance version for Iraq 28 built. Mirage F1 EQ5 a single-seat anti-shipping version for Iraq 20 built. Mirage F1 EQ6 a single-seat anti-shipping version for Iraq 30 built. Mirage F1 EDA export version of the Mirage F1E for Qatar. 12 built. Mirage F1 CG. Greece operated 40 Dassault Mirage F1 CG single-seat aircraft. F1CG was first ordered in 1974 and entered service with the Hellenic Air Force in 1975. The aircraft were used by 334 Squadron and 342 Squadron. Mirage F1CG was armed with the Sidewinder AIM-9P missile, rather than the most commonly used Matra Magic II, and it could carry 4 AIM-9 picoseconds, rather than just 2. The Hellenic Air Force retired the remaining 27 Mirage F1CGs on June 30, 2003 after 28 years of service and 160,000 flying hours. A number of F1CG aircraft have been preserved in non-flying condition for display. At least 4 are preserved in Tamigra, Greece. One more is preserved at HAF History Department, Delta Falaru. Mirage F1CR. When it became clear that the Mirage F1 was becoming a successful production aircraft, Dassault began investigating the possibility of a dedicated reconnaissance version for its most important client, the French Air Force. However, the escalating cost of fighter aircraft meant that add-on pods for this purpose were a more economical alternative. Many French Air Force aircraft, as well as those of some export clients, did indeed have a variety of reconnaissance pods available, which were attached to the underside of the main fuselage. However, the development of a tactical reconnaissance aircraft for the French Air Force continued, and the first Mirage F1 CR-200 flew on November 20, 1981. The Mirage F1 CR carries reconnaissance equipment, internally and externally. A SAT SCM-2400 Supercyclone infrared linear scan unit is installed in the space previously occupied by the port cannon. A space under the nose can be used for a Thompson TRT-40 panoramic camera or a Thompson TRT-33 vertical camera. The Serrano OVMA radar has extra ground and contour mapping modules. A variety of sensors can be carried in external pods carried under the fuselage center line. These include the RA-4LTH side-looking airborne radar, the ASTACELINT pod and the RP-35P optical reconnaissance pod. A total of 64 Mirage F1 CRs were ordered by the French Air Force. The first Air Force unit equipped with a CR was Escadron de Reconnaissance 2/33 which became operational in September 1983. Mirage F1 CT. The Mirage F1 CT is a ground attack version of the Mirage F1 C200. Following their replacement in the air defense role by the Mirage 2000, the French Air Force had a number of surplus Mirage F1 C200s, and in 1988 it launched a conversion program to turn these aircraft into interim ground attack aircraft to replace elderly Mirage IIIEs and Mirage Versus. The Mirage F1 CT program brought the avionics of the F1C up to the standard of the F1CR, with the radar upgraded with the additional air-to-ground modes of the Serrano OVMR, an improved navigation attack system fitted, with a laser rangefinder fitted under the nose. It was fitted with new Mk-10 ejection seats, while improved radar detection and warning devices, chaff flare dispensers, and secure radios were also added. It gained the ability to carry a variety of air-to-ground weapons, including rockets, cluster bombs and laser-guided bombs, while retaining the F1C's air-to-air armament. 2 prototypes were converted by Dassault, the first flying on May 3, 1991, with a further 55 converted by the workshops of the French Air Force at Clermont-Ferrand by 1995. Mirage F1AZ and F1CZ. The South African Air Force flew both the Mirage F1AZ ground attack version as well as the radar-equipped Mirage F1CZ fighter. The first 2 examples of the first order were delivered on April 5, 1975. Both of these F1CZs were transported under a blanket of secrecy by a SAAF C-130 Hercules. In July of the same year, the remainder of the F1CZs were delivered, and 3 Squadron was recommissioned to operate the aircraft from AFB Waterkloof. In 1975 the F1CZs also appeared at a South African airshow, but the public wasn't informed that the aircraft were already operational in the SAAF. The F1AZ was developed in conjunction with Dassault and the SAAF as a dedicated ground attack variant. Paramount Group, a South African-based company, owns the intellectual property for the Mirage F1AZ. The AZ variant has a laser-based rangefinder, permitting extremely accurate fusing and aiming of unguided munitions, which consist of bombs and rockets. Optical design was by Armscor in South Africa, by the optics division of that company. Despite their retirement in 1997, the accuracy of the F-1AZ's armament delivery is still considered classified information by the SAAF, but observer analysis by informed news services and pilot reports conclude that the AZ variant has accuracies within the order disclosed by USAF for their F-15E Strike Eagle in unguided ballistic mode. The F-1AZs were delivered between November 1975 and October 1976. They were assigned to one squadron, stationed at AFB Waterkloof. The SAAF retired the F-1CZs in 1992, followed by the F-1AZs in 1997. As an upgrade program for the SAAF, Mirasud, a South African aero-engineering concern, equipped a Mirage F1 with a Plymouth 33 engine, the same engine used in the MiG-29. This development was dubbed the Super Mirage F1, and held the distinction of being the first Western aircraft to perform a display at the MAKS Air Show in Moscow. In 2004 up to 21 F-1AZs were reported in storage at AFB Hoedspruit, awaiting a possible buyer. In April 2006, it was reported that Mirasud had purchased the surviving Mirage F-1AZs and spares. On August 17, 2006, French news agency Agence France Presse reported that two upgraded ex-South African F-1AZs had taken part in a flypast over Libreville earlier that day in celebration of Gabon's Independence Day. The refurbishment and upgrade of the aircraft was carried out by Mirasud. Mirasud Group Managing Director Dr. Paul Potgieter confirmed his company's involvement, but declined to give numbers or cite figures. It was also reported at that time that Gabon had only bought 3 Mirage F1s from South Africa. However, it was later noted that the Gabonese government bought 4 Mirage F1AZs in total. The F1AZ features an integrated ground attack system, comprising 2 onboard computers that enable the pilot to identify targets at a distance of 5 km. These computers are connected to a laser rangefinder, situated below its conical nose. This device provides the computers a gyro, and the pilot, with target info without the emission of radar signals. After identifying the target and obtaining the necessary information, bombs are automatically released at the right moment. While the range-finding ability of the aircraft to Euro unregistered trademark SM-DAIDA-2 radar unit permits it to operate combat and visual interception missiles, the helmet-mounted sight element enables the pilot to make bore attacks, without having to wait until he has reached a best firing position. The F-1AZ is equipped with 2 internal DEFA 30mm cannons with 125 rounds each, and carries a wide variety of external ordnance, which includes various types of bombs, cluster munitions, missiles, and rocket launchers. The most common configuration is however 6 Mk-81 or Mk-82 bombs, together with 2 Kentron Kukri V-3B or V-3C missiles on the wingtip rails. Mirage F1 M53, developed for the participation in the European NATO fighter competition of early 70s, seeking to replace the F-104G. It was equipped with a more powerful engine, the SNECMA M53, and other improvements. Failed to succeed, the contest was eventually won by the General Dynamics F-16. The Mirage F1 came in second place. Mirage F1M. The F1M upgrade was applied to 48 Spanish F1CEE and 4 F1EDA trainers under a FFR 700 million contract awarded to Thompson CSF in October 1996. The prototype F1M flew in April 1998, and CASA delivered the remainder between March 1999 and 15 March 2001. The project included a revised cockpit with color LCDs and a smart HUD from Sextant Avionique, a Sextant inertial navigation system with GPS interface. NATO-compatible have quick to secure communications. Mode 4 digital IFF. A defensive aids suite. And flight recorders. The radar was upgraded to Serrano OVM standard, adding sea search and air-to-ground ranging modes. Mirage MF 2000, The MF2000 is a comprehensive upgrade by Astraq for Morocco, with improved engines and a new avionics package based on that of the Mirage 2000. Operators. Dassault Mirage F1 has been used by 14 air forces, with 4 of them still using it. Out of these, 3 air forces have been European, 5 Middle Eastern, and 4 African. Current operators. Gabonese Air Force received 6 F-1AZ aircraft with 2 more to be delivered. Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force seized over 24 F-1EQ and F-1BQ flown over from Iraq during the 1991 Gulf War. Libyan Air Force received 16 F-1AD, 16 F-1ED and 6 F-1BD aircraft. All were grounded. But, 12 were contracted for refurbishment, of which only 4 were returned to service. Of these 12, 2 have defected to Malta. France will renovate Libyan or Euro unregistered trademark S small fleet of Dassault Mirage F1 and train its personnel as part of a defense cooperation agreement signed in 2012. Morocco, Royal Moroccan Air Force received 30 F-1CH, 14 F-1EH and 6 F-1EH-200. 40 still operational and 27 have been upgraded to Astraq. Former operators. Ecuador, Ecuadorian Air Force operated 16 F-1JA and 2 F-1JE. During their operational service, at least 3 of these aircraft were confirmed as lost in accidents. In February 2011, the remaining aircraft in the squadron were retired from service. France, French Air Force received 246 aircraft. The last squadron flying the aircraft was officially disbanded on June 13, 2014. Greece, Hellenic Air Force operated 40 F-1CG. Iraq, Iraqi Air Force received 93 F-1EQ and 15 F-1BQ between 1980 and 1989, with a further 17 EQs and 3 trainers undelivered due to Iraq's inability to pay and the UN arms embargo imposed following the 1990 invasion of Kuwait. In early 2011, the French government offered to update and refurbish 18 French-held F-1 Mirages and sell these to the Iraqi Air Force. Jordan, Royal Jordanian Air Force received 17 F-1CJ, 17 F-1EJ and 2 F-1BJ. In 2010 it was reported that Argentina might lease 12 F-1CJs and an F-1BJ but nothing came of it. Kuwait Air Force operated 27 F-1CK and 6 F-1BK. Libyan Arab Jamahiriya, Libyan Air Force. Passed on to successor government. Qatar Air Force operated 13 F-1EDA and 2 F-1DDA. South African Air Force operated 32 F-1AZ and 16 F-1CZ. Spanish Air Force received originally 45 F-1CE, 22 F-1E and 6 F-1BE. Also acquired 24 second-hand examples from France and Qatar in the early 1990s. Spanish F-1s were deployed in 2006 for Baltic air policing mission. Finally, Spain decommissioned its Mirage F1 fleet in February 2013. Specifications. Data from Jane's All the World's Aircraft 1988 to Euro 89. General characteristics: crew, 1, length, 15.30 meters, wingspan, 8.40 m, height, 4.50 m, wing area, 25.00 miles squared, empty weight, 7,400 kilograms, loaded weight, 10,900 kilograms, max takeoff weight, 16,200 kilograms, power plant, 1 SNECMA Atar 9K50 after-burning turbojet, dry thrust, 49.03 kilonewtons, thrust with afterburner, 70.6 kilonewtons. Performance, maximum speed, Mach 2.2 at 11,000 m, combat radius, 425 km high-low at Mach 0.75/0.88 with 14 250 kg bombs, ferry range, 3,300 km, endurance, 2 hours 15 minutes, service ceiling, 20,000 m, rate of climb, 243 meters per second at high altitude, armament, guns, 2 30mm DEFA 553 cannons with 150 rounds per gun, hardpoints, 1 centerline pylon, 4 underwing and 2 wingtip pylons. With a capacity of 6,300 kilograms, AN provisions to carry combinations of rockets ATA, Matra rocket pods with 18 SNEB 68mm rockets each, bombs, various other reconnaissance pods or drop tanks. Missiles, 2 AIM-9 Sidewinders or Matra of 550 Magics on wingtip pylons, 2 Super 530 FS underwing, 1 AM-39 Exocet anti-ship missile, 2 AS-30L laser-guided missiles, see also. Related development, Dassault Mirage III, Dassault Mirage F2, aircraft of comparable role, configuration and era, Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-21, Mikoyan Gurevich MiG-23, Northrop F-5EF Tiger II, related lists, list of fighter aircraft, list of military aircraft of France, references, notes. Bibliography. External links, Dassault official webpage, Aircraft of the French Air Force.